The Grand Heights Hotel shimmered like a jewel against the New York skyline, its crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the annual Sterling & Co. corporate gala. The ballroom buzzed with life, filled with the city's most influential figures clinking champagne glasses and exchanging carefully crafted pleasantries. For Clara Bennett, a junior analyst just 3 months into her role at the prestigious financial firm, the scene felt surreal. Clara stood near the edge of the room, her hand nervously adjusting the delicate silver bracelet on her wrist, a treasured heirloom from her grandmother that had always given her courage. She smoothed the fabric of her sapphire blue dress, a splurge that had taken a chunk out of her savings but was worth every penny to look the part tonight. Around her, executives laughed and mingled as though they belonged to another world, one Clara could only hope to step into. As she took a deep breath to calm her nerves, a commanding yet calm voice interrupted her thoughts. First corporate gala? Clara turned, her breath catching as she looked into the sharp, steel-gray eyes of Adrian Pierce, Sterling & Co.'s enigmatic CEO. Known for his brilliance and almost mythical rise in the financial world, Adrian's presence had a magnetic pull that made the room fade away. "Yes," Clara managed, steadying her voice. Adrian's lips curved into a faint smile. "You stand out," he said, his gaze lingering for a moment longer than expected. In that instant, Clara felt the weight of the night shift. What had started as a formal company event now carried the promise of something more, something extraordinary. The crystal chandeliers cast their dazzling glow across the room, their light reflecting off champagne glasses held by elegantly dressed guests. Soft music from the orchestra filled the air, blending seamlessly with lively conversations and laughter. Clara stood near a marble column, still feeling like an outsider amidst all the grandeur. Adrian Pierce approached her with the kind of effortless confidence that turned heads wherever he went. His black tuxedo fit him perfectly, accentuating his sharp features and the quiet power in his demeanor. Clara had seen him from afar in the office before, but nothing could have prepared her for the intensity of meeting him up close. "First galas can be overwhelming," Adrian said, raising the champagne glass in his hand. Clara nodded, offering a small smile. "They certainly are. I don't think I've ever been anywhere quite this extravagant." Adrian tilted his head slightly, as though studying her more closely. "But you're not like the others here. Most of them are only here to talk numbers and profits. You're different. I can see it in your eyes." His words made Clara's cheeks warm, but she managed to keep her tone composed. "I just want to do my job well. For me, it all starts with caring about people, not just numbers." "Rare," Adrian replied, his gaze softening with admiration. "Most people spend their entire careers without understanding that." A server passed by with a tray of champagne, and Adrian deftly took 2 glasses, handing one to Clara. When their fingers brushed during the exchange, Clara felt a faint jolt of electricity. She took the glass, feeling both flustered and undeniably drawn to the man standing before her. "Take a walk with me," Adrian said, his eyes never leaving hers. For a moment, Clara hesitated, knowing that every pair of eyes in the room might be watching them. But then, looking into Adrian's sincere gaze, she decided to follow her instincts. They stepped out of the bustling ballroom, walking through a quiet corridor that led to the hotel's rooftop. The air was cool and crisp at the top, and the city lights below sparkled like a sea of stars. Adrian turned to Clara, his gaze holding a silent intensity, as though he wanted to say 1,000 things, but chose to remain quiet for now. The rooftop of the hotel felt like a world away from the bustling chaos below. The lights of New York City shimmered like a sea of stars, stretching endlessly into the horizon. The cool night air carried the faint scent of roses from the small garden tucked into the corner of the rooftop. Clara followed Adrian, her heartbeat still racing from their conversation downstairs. Standing by the edge of the railing, she took in the breathtaking view of the city moving below, though the moment between them felt utterly still. "This is where I come when I need to escape the noise," Adrian said, breaking the silence. "No one expects a CEO to need quiet, but honestly, I need it more than most." Clara turned to him, her gaze curious. "It's hard to imagine you needing to escape anything. You always seem so in control." Adrian chuckled softly, his smile less sharp and more tender. "Not always. Sometimes I'm just a man trying to find balance. But then I met you." He looked at her, his steel-gray eyes holding a depth that made Clara's breath hitch. "And you make me think I don't have to hide behind those walls anymore." Clara felt the sincerity in his voice, an unexpected vulnerability from someone as commanding as Adrian. They stood closer now, and in the silence that followed, their eyes met, sharing an unspoken understanding. Adrian reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek gently, and before Clara could think, he leaned in and kissed her. It was soft at first, almost tentative, but when she responded, it deepened into something more profound. The world seemed to disappear, leaving only them and the glow of the city lights below. "We should go back," Clara murmured, though her heart begged her to stay in this moment. Adrian nodded slightly, but his gaze remained steady on hers. "This won't be the last time," he said firmly, a promise in his voice. As Adrian pulled away, Clara's heart raced. She could still feel the warmth of his lips lingering on hers. For the first time that night, she wasn't just the junior analyst trying to find her place in a grand world. She was Clara, seen and valued by someone she had never expected. The soft golden light of dawn filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Adrian's luxurious penthouse. Clara woke to the warmth of sunlight on her skin and the complete stillness of the space around her. For a moment she lay still, piecing together the events of the night before. It had been an evening filled with emotions. The kiss on the rooftop and Adrian's tender words still echoed in her mind. But now, in the clarity of daylight, everything felt more real, and with that came a creeping sense of doubt. Her eyes wandered across the room, a space designed with modern elegance in shades of gray and black. Sitting up slowly, the silk sheets slipped off her shoulders and she instinctively pulled them back to cover herself. The door opened, and Adrian walked in, wearing an unbuttoned white shirt paired with dark trousers. He carried 2 cups of coffee, his movements effortlessly composed yet quietly assured. "You're awake," he said, his deep voice as smooth as ever as he handed her a cup of coffee. Clara offered a faint smile as she accepted it. "Thank you. Your dress," Adrian said after a brief pause, breaking the silence. "I sent it to be pressed. It should be back shortly." Clara nodded, feeling both relieved and disappointed. Adrian was as composed and considerate as always, but his professionalism made her wonder if the night before had meant anything to him. "I should go," Clara said softly, trying to keep her voice steady. Adrian nodded slightly, though something flickered in his eyes, an emotion Clara couldn't quite place. "Clara," he said, her name lingering in the air as she turned back to look at him. He didn't say anything more, and after a moment of hesitation, Clara left the room. As she walked down the hallway, her grandmother's bracelet caught the light, its familiar weight grounding her amidst the swirl of uncertainty in her heart. Clara stepped into the offices of Sterling & Co. on Monday morning, the tension in her chest coiling tighter with every step. She had dressed carefully in a charcoal gray dress paired with a crisp white blouse, hoping her professional appearance would mask the unease swirling inside her. But as soon as she walked through the glass doors, she could feel the shift in the air. Conversations hushed as she passed by, and subtle glances followed her down the corridor. Clara tried to ignore it, but the weight of curiosity and speculation pressed heavily on her shoulders. "Morning, Clara." Lucy, her closest friend at work, was waiting by her desk. Her expression was a mix of curiosity and concern. "How was the gala on Friday? You kind of disappeared after that, and I didn't hear from you all weekend." Clara felt her cheeks flush. I just stayed a little late." Lucy raised an eyebrow but didn't push further. Before Clara could find a way to deflect the conversation, a deep voice cut through the office noise. "Clara, I need the Richardson Project report on my desk within the hour." Adrian Pierce strode past them, his commanding presence turning heads across the floor. He didn't spare Clara a second glance, but just hearing his voice was enough to bring back memories of that night. His gentle words and the way his gaze softened in the quiet intimacy of his penthouse. Clara took a deep breath, forcing herself to focus. She spent the morning buried in spreadsheets and reports, but no matter how hard she tried, her mind kept drifting back to Adrian. His professional demeanor today was a stark contrast to the man she'd seen over the weekend, and she couldn't help but feel a pang of doubt. By lunchtime, the tension in the office had reached a boiling point. Whispers spread like wildfire. Someone claimed to have seen Clara leaving Adrian's building early Saturday morning, and the story quickly snowballed into accusations that she had spent the night there. Lucy slid into the seat next to her and leaned in close. "You need to be careful. These rumors could get ugly fast." "I haven't done anything wrong," Clara said, though her voice lacked conviction. Lucy gave her a sympathetic look. "Maybe not, but you know how people are. They'll twist anything into a story. Don't let it get to you." Clara nodded, but deep down, she could feel the control she'd tried so hard to maintain slipping through her fingers. The rumors had quickly spiraled out of control, moving beyond whispers in the office to reach the ears of the board. By the end of the week, an email landed in Clara's inbox, summoning her to an ethics investigation meeting on Monday morning. That morning, Clara entered the top-floor boardroom, her heart pounding in her chest. The board members, 6 in total, sat on the opposite side of the long table, their gazes cold and scrutinizing. Adrian was there too, seated at the head of the table. His face remained composed, but Clara caught a flicker of tension in his eyes when he glanced at her. "We are here to investigate allegations of inappropriate conduct between Ms. Clara and Mr. Adrian," one board member said, his voice sharp and authoritative. Clara took a deep breath. "I want to make it clear that every achievement I've earned at this company is due to my skills and dedication, not any personal relationship." Another board member, Mrs. Hargrave, interjected. "Then explain why you were invited to join the Richardson Project just weeks after joining the company, something that has never happened before." Clara held her composure, pulling out the documents she had prepared. "This is the analysis I submitted before the gala. It directly addressed the concerns raised by the Richardson team. I was selected for my contributions, nothing more." Adrian, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "I can confirm that Clara's involvement was a decision based purely on merit. She demonstrated exceptional insight and earned her place on the project through her work." "And what about the leaked information?" another board member demanded, his tone accusatory. "There are claims that Mr. Pierce orchestrated the situation to protect Miss Carter." Before Adrian could respond, the door opened and Chief Operations Officer Regina Chin entered with a determined expression. "If you're looking for the source of the rumors, I have something to share." Chen placed a tablet on the table, displaying a series of emails and call logs between a board member, Mrs. Reynolds, and a journalist. The evidence revealed that Reynolds had deliberately leaked false information to undermine Adrian and Clara, hoping to gain control of the Richardson Project. The room fell into stunned silence. Mrs. Reynolds turned pale, stammering, "This isn't direct proof." "This evidence is undeniable," Chen cut in sharply. "You manipulated the situation to harm 2 innocent people for your own agenda." After a tense pause, the chairman of the board finally spoke. "We will address this matter immediately. This investigation is now closed. Mr. Adrian, Ms. Clara, you are free to go." 2 weeks after the investigation, life at Sterling & Co. seemed to return to normal. The tension had eased, and Clara noticed the stolen glances and whispers had faded now that the truth had come to light. However, she knew things between her and Adrian had irrevocably changed. One evening, Clara received a text from Adrian. "Tonight, Grand Heights rooftop, 7 p.m. There's something important I need to say." Clara arrived at the rooftop as the sun was setting, its golden hues painting the city skyline in breathtaking colors. Adrian was already there, standing near the edge, his navy suit immaculate, but his eyes softer than she'd ever seen them. "I can't stop thinking about the first time we stood here," Adrian said as he stepped closer. "That was the moment I realized, even in just a few hours, you weren't just another new hire. You were someone who changed everything." Clara smiled, her heart racing. "And now? What is it you want to tell me?" Adrian's lips curved into a small, determined smile. He took a step back, lowering himself onto one knee, and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "Clara Bennett, you've changed the way I see the world, the way I think about my future. I don't want a single day to go by without you in it." Adrian opened the box, revealing a vintage sapphire ring that glimmered in the golden light. "Marry me, Clara. Build a life with me, full of moments like this one." Terriers welled in Clara's eyes as she looked down at him. Without hesitation, she nodded. "Yes, Adrian, yes." Adrian stood, wrapping his arms around her as their kiss sealed his promise. The sapphire ring fit perfectly on her finger, nestled beside her grandmother's silver bracelet, a symbol of love and bravery intertwined. That night, under the starry sky, Clara knew they had overcome every challenge and were ready for a new beginning, not just in love, but in life itself. 6 months later, Clara stood on the rooftop of the Grand Heights Hotel, the glittering lights of New York stretching endlessly before her. This wasn't just where everything began. It had become a reminder of everything she and Adrian had overcome together. Her grandmother's silver bracelet, now paired with the sparkling sapphire ring, rested lightly on her wrist, a symbol of a journey filled with challenges, growth, and a love forged through trust and resilience. She gazed out over the cityscape, a soft smile playing on her lips as she heard familiar footsteps behind her. "I knew I'd find you up here," Adrian said, his voice warm and steady, cutting through the chill of the evening. Clara turned to see him, dressed impeccably in a tuxedo. But it wasn't his attire that caught her attention. It was the look in his eyes, filled with love and pride, that made her heart feel lighter. "Sometimes I need to remind myself why all of this matters," she said, smiling. Adrian stepped closer, taking her hand in his. "It matters because we chose each other, even when it wasn't easy." Clara nodded, her heart beating steadily in her chest, a quiet assurance of everything they had built. "Clara Bennett," Adrian said, pulling her gently into his arms. "May I have this dance?" She laughed softly, resting her hand on his shoulder as he guided her into a slow dance. Beneath the glow of the city lights, they moved as if time had paused, leaving only the rhythm of their hearts and the certainty of their bond. Looking up at him, Clara smiled. "I think I've found my answer. No matter what happens, I know we'll face it together." "Always," Adrian replied, holding her closer. They continued to dance, the city's lights casting a warm glow around them, ready for whatever new chapters life had in store.